Calvin T. Mann, leading Emmy, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to Emmy TV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's Monday. It's the end of February 28th, and we are knee deep in positivity today. Started this morning off very, very well. Went to see a former mentee with sickle cell at the hospital, and he's a fighter. Tell you a quick story. Also in the building is L Bug, the DJ, who hopefully by the end of the day we convince him to come set up at the pancake breakfast Saturday morning for the pancake breakfast. Plays just a little bit of music. Also in the building, we got in the building Dave and our guest, Mr. E. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon. All right.
So today, with this month coming up being Literacy Month, we're kicking off Reading is Life Month for us. And I'm going to tell a brief story or two. First, we'll interview Mr. E. Let Mr. E do his thing. Then I'll go into the story. But this real quick story this morning. One of my mentees, Dave, this was before you. So Isaiah and Lincoln, boy, they're brothers. So this goes back to with the pancake breakfast, everything, you know. So Lincoln was one of the first 7-year-olds to be in our program because he was a high functioning 7-year-old. He wasn't the typical 7-year-old. And so we had Lincoln in the program and his brother Isaiah, you know. So Isaiah, you know, he swear up and down, he sweet hooper, you know, he shake his head, make his move, he do his thing, right? But Isaiah has sickle cell, right? And he has bouts, months, you know. So for me, when his mom let me know he was in the hospital, I went down, I let her know I would come through, right? And so I went down to Children's Hospital. Now, guys, I don't know if you've ever been to Children's Hospital, but me, I had never been to Children's Hospital, right? So when I get down there, you know, Children's Hospital is sharp. Like, this hospital, whatever upgrades they done made to this place, this boy look like a you know, Super Bowl stadium, you know. It's big, but it's children everywhere, right? And so I go in. What's funny is, as I go in, I pull up to valet, because I'm only going to be a little bit of time. The valet guy, shout out to the valet service at, you know, Children's Hospital, sharp, on point. And so, you know, I go up. Now, as I'm going in, you know, I'm in line. There's not that many people behind me as I come in. Then suddenly I turn around and there's a line behind me down the hall of people with children. So that was the first thing. So, you know, I get in. I ask, I go through the procedure. They tell me where 4P22 is. So I go to 4P22 and I go up. He tells me to go up the escalator. I go up and I go on this floor. Now, when I get up on the floor, it's like closed off. So it's only one way in and one way out. When I come through, right, all you see is these kids, and it's children and parents and babies everywhere, right? And you don't realize it, you know. So you know me, Dave, I'm subconsciously picking up what is taking place. So I get in a room with my man, and he's not Isaiah, but I'm gonna tell you how Isaiah was in the program. The first year, Isaiah had a bunch of games. Right, you know, he played a lot of games. You know how these kids, they come in, play the game, want to be this, want to be that. You know, they came in with a bag. He come in with a bag of medicine, and, you know, they got to take all this medicine. Well, me, no. we're gonna give you a break. We're gonna give you a different philosophy, right? So as the weeks went on, Isaiah, he want to play. He want to play the game. So finally, at the end of the program, um, you know, Isaiah see his brother, like Kwame and Raheem. I see his little brother being strong, right? So they come back, not the next session, but the session after. So when he come back the second, this session, he come through the door like a warrior. Like now he in pain. He don't want to sit down. He want to push through. He want to work, right? And that is part of what we get out of these kids, right? So when I go in to see him today, I got my mask on, everything. I say, hey, my man. Well, he knew the voice right away. You know what I mean? And I was like, what's up, brother? You taking this land down or you fighting? Oh, I'm fighting. I said, well, do you know who I am? He like, yeah, coach. What's up? All right. I just ain't feeling good, so he go through his thing. But to watch him go through this process, and, I was in the room for a second and for a little bit, and then his mom showed up, and, I'm going to go back check my man out. But the process was when I come out of Children's Hospital, I have a newfound respect for not only our work, Dave, but I have a newfound respect, right, for parenting, right? There are a lot more warriors in parenting than we're willing. So I'm getting off the elevator, and as a mom, and she was like, my son only came here with a virus and almost died. And me and her was just walking. I say, this has blown me away. She said, it blew me away too. I had no idea this many children was in this much pain. I say, well, I had no idea that this many children was being blessed. Because without this hospital, where would they be? Right? And so I just wanted to share that quick story about this morning and the kickoff. And so with that being said, we're going to get right down to Mr. E, Dave. Mr. E is in the building. How you doing, brother Elijah?
Well, I'm doing fantastic, Calvin. Good to see you, sir, again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't tell you how we truly appreciate, so this was opportunity because our guest didn't make it. And so this is opportunity, I say, well, let's hit up Mr. E. Let's see if Mr. E can fill in and share, his story real quick with the people and tell everybody what you're doing, and how we're recruiting you heavily to the Good Fathers Only. So go ahead, Brother E. Tell everybody what you're doing.
Well, thanks, Calvin. One of the things is that I'm just trying to follow the instructions that God gave me as being a giver. And I think a lot of times people don't know how to give. They say they know how to give, but they really don't. It's because they give in a way that they looking to get something back. And one thing about that I've learned doing what I do, doing shoes for about 15 years, and I see the passion that I have for it and the difference that it makes in a man, in a kid, how it can transform them from having a low self-esteem to a high self-esteem to in a matter of 5-10 minutes just for a clean pair of shoes. And a lot of times we take for granted some things that we have a lot of when some people wish they had just a pair of shoes that would make a difference in their life. So God put in my spirit to do a shoe mission with what I do. And first of all, I got the mobile shoe shine shuttle that God gave me in a word saying, hey, bus. And this is the product of what he gave me. But not only into that, what I do is just not doing shoes, but it's a mission. It's a passion. It's a ministry for me. And the more that I do it, the more I get more passionate about it. And I wanted to be able to give back something to the community that I can say, hey, you know what? I want to be a blessing because God has been so good to me. And the best thing you can be is a giver. It's not always trying to receive all the time, but it's what can you give away? Can you give away and miss it and don't even worry about it or you got to give it away and hopefully something comes back in return. But that's not what I do. So when Crystal told me about you, because I was just trying to find some organization that I can be a blessing to some kids, to some men that needed some shoes, and she gave me your name, and I'm like, okay, I just need to find out. I'm just
Mr. E,
obedient. Said, let me just call and see what you're doing.
Mr. E,
Yes, sir.
excuse me. She gave you my name because she know I needed a size 12 black shoe. But
Okay.
I understand. I understand.
You know what? I feel you. But I was gonna tell you, they having a good sale down at Burlington. They got your size, what you need. So listen. I think I was here just to let you know that, so you don't have to worry about running all over town to find them. I can get you straight there. But you know what? Though, she probably knew that too. Nah, Mr. E he's down for giving to the ones that don't have.
Right.
And I think that's what my whole thing is about, because, and one thing that I do though, Kelvin, is that in this mission is that I want to make sure what I'm giving is something that I will keep for myself, not just something that, hey, I just want to throw out. I don't like it no more. So I'm trying to really focus on being excellent, because God never gives us half of anything. Everything that he gives us is always full, top notch, over the top. So if I could be that same way blessing when I'm giving men and kids a good pair of shoes, so all they got to do is slip their feet in and run, not worrying about I got to go take them and get the heel fix, or the sole is coming to back. So it's a blessing for me to be able to bless someone like you, Calvin, that's on the mission of mentoring these young men and helping these fathers become better fathers and helping them along the way. So what better organization to be able to sow into, to see the progress of it, of what you're doing. I believe that's the reason why God is having you doing so much with what you're doing. It's because you're giving so much back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's no question about it, no doubt about it. That's what purpose does, right? And so that's, like you said, you've been at it for 15. I've been at it for 15, right? And so, the one thing is, we over here we chase those results, right? What is the results? We got
Absolutely.
things that we need to do. We got places we need to be, and we got people we need to help. And a lot of times, the one thing that you can recognize about the city of Detroit is the same people get the same different jobs, but they're in a different job. That lets you know how small and how we are not up to par with other major cities, because the same people keep getting the different spots. So one guy could be the mayor. He was the attorney general. Next thing you know, he was over here. One guy was the sheriff. Now he's the Department of the Treasury. You got all these, right? And that just tells you why the city looks the way it looks. Very few, and then you got a lot of I don't want to do this, and we got a lot of they. But you decided to do some work, and doing work means putting your hand to the plow and not looking back, right? And for me,
Absolutely.
that's doing the work, right? Why would I do the work? I heard somebody say, "Why would I do that work and it's free?" Well, nah. Okay, I hear you. But why wouldn't you? Why would you yell and scream racism, but you don't do the work, right? Why would you yell and scream they, but you don't help and do the work? So, with that being said, tell the people where they can see you, where they can get you, how they can connect you if somebody needs some shoes, to help you spread that ministry. We are most definitely going to do that. I'm looking forward to seeing you Saturday at the Pancake Breakfast. And,
Absolutely.
One of the things, if you get there early enough, like if you get there like 8:30ish, and you pull up front on Vaughn Street, and back that boy in, you might be able to get some people to come on and get on your thing and get their shoes shined before the event. But yes, tell the people where they can reach you. I truly appreciate you, man, and I know we watched you yesterday, and I know the mentors was like, oh, even Victor was saying, oh man, I like him. I say, yeah, well, you have to, because he's one of us, and so I truly appreciate you. But tell the people where they can reach you at.
Well, thanks, Calvin. I appreciate that. But anybody is looking to get their shoes done. You can reach out to me on my website, Mr. E, Mr. E Shoes at yahoo.com, or you can contact me at 248-229-6373. Let me know what you got. We come right to you. You ain't got to drop anything off. I come to you, take care of all your shoes right there, and you're good to go. I don't tap your whole day. You ain't got to do a back drop. You pick it up. I do it all right there on the spot.
Awesome. My brothers and them, they crazy. They just be sending any kind of thing. So yes, that's awesome. So, again, repeat that website, Mr. E.
Okay, it's Mr. E's Shoes at yahoo.com.
Awesome. And that's ES or EAEZ?
No, ES.
ES. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
That phone number too.
Yes, 248
248.
229
Okay.
6373.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome. So, Mr. E, you can stick around, right? Or you can get off. It's
I'm with you.
So, right now, right, this is
Hey, Cal.
yes, sir.
Yeah, let me inject this for Mr. E. Let you know how powerful your ministry is.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
one of the young fellas, Colin, I had to tell many people this morning about it, how that the pair of shoes can be the difference and make a difference in a young man's life. So when he got the shoes, if I recall them, brown wingtips, that's old school. So when he got the shoes, he walked away. Now Colin, by presentation, is pretty quiet. Usually keep kind of a stoic look, not really much emotion showed.
Right.
Man, he was walking away with them shoes and he was talking to himself and smiling. And I said, is he talking to himself? Oh, he was pumped up. I mean, I saw all the teeth he had in his mouth. So, so I know it's the difference, the change. And you were being inspirational and encouraging and motivating them. And I like the way you articulate you. They say a particular statement, you come back with a positive turn to associate. Well, in the process of that, I noted that something you said was significant, that a pair of shoes can be significant enough to change a person's personality. And I know this because when I was a kid, we were so poor, they took the O and the R off and just left it to be Po. Well, we used to have these shoes, and, these shoes get holes in them, and so my daddy would say, put that paper in.
Right.
Yes,
I know about
in the bottom of the shoes.
Yes, sir.
Well. So one day I went to go get my shoes shine because back in the day, you had the shoe shine going. And the next thing you know, my man was shining my shoes and he saw the bottom of my shoes. He said, headline, man got shot in the bottom.
Right.
Yeah, man.
You gotta figure out how to.
Yeah, man. Paul. So shoes was not designed for us. We
It's amazing that.
Hey, man,
And it's amazing. Since I've been doing it for so long, I'm always finding out something very unique about people, their expressions, their emotions, their feelings about shoes, especially the ones that never had them done. And I love the newbies. I call them newbies that never had their shoes done. They bring their shoes to me. Hey, what can you do with these? I'm like, well, my thing is this. What is your outlook? How you want them to look afterwards? Because it's not what I can do. It's what you believe I can do. And I tell them, I said, well, do you believe I can bring them to where you want to see them? They say, yeah. Well, okay. Well, let's make it happen. But it comes first with them knowing, hey, I believe that you can be better. And I think that goes along with life. If you don't have the belief in yourself, no one can put anything in you that you don't want in you. So you got to have it for yourself first, and then people can add to what you have to build on what you have, your foundation.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
What you said about Colin though was spot on, right? because as me and Mr. E were standing next to each other, And I think Victor came over, and Colin was sitting on the floor. And I was like, Colin, I don't know if you're going to get to keep them 12s, brother.
Mm.
Colin don't need them shoes, right? He turned around and looked, and his whole face lit up, right? And then later on, when his dad came and picked him up, right? And, man, when his dad came and picked him up, you know, he said, Dad, I got a pair of shoes like yours. So his dad say, them ain't no Gators. He said, they still look better than yours.
That's right.
I got
That's right.
I got a
That's
pair of
right.
shoes that look better than yours.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. He said, yeah, right. Because his dad was trying to mess with that weight jacket. He
No.
could handle that weight jacket. That's awesome. So what I wanted to get into, because this is a reading month, and I wanted to tell the official story.
I'm having a bad connection. I don't know if
Yeah, you going in and out. If you moved from where you were the first time, yeah, you going out. Right? And so I brought in the book, right? And I brought in Adventures of Luther, but I brought it in, Dave, to tell the story, you know, because we're putting together volume 2, right? And I brought it in to share the real story behind Adventures of Oba and Luther. And I think you might have heard it, but a number of people have never known the true story, right? So this book essentially was created off, off some friends. I take it that's your dog.
no,
Right?
that's mine. I'm sorry. She's downstairs.
Right?
I mute so that way you don't hear that background.
Okay.
That's probably why you're breaking up. You said you're in the basement.
Yeah. So the Adventures of Oba and Luther. So a friend of mine, his name was Oba, right? And his cousin Latrell and Ty and we get together and make music in the basement. Across the street is a brother named Ray, nicknamed Sun Ray, right? Call him Ray Cheatham is his name, right? Knowledgeable brother, likes to read, you know, and we get off into the various books and conversations, and you know they want to get in depth, you know, Black Power and you know the whole nine, right? And so we would be in the basement making music, laughing, right, and being very very creative as men. Made some nice songs, some you know raunchy songs. We was just making music, right? Also, in that basement, we made "Put Your Family First," the original first one, before we redid it, right? And so, of course, I'm down there, I'm a creative, I'm hooking everything. I can put hooks on everything, right? And one day, we down there, here they come. We working on a song, and here come Oba and Ray. They come downstairs one day, and we in the basement laughing, prepping for a song, do some recording, and they went to going back and forth like the two old guys on the Muppets, right? So they going back and forth, you know, and you know with Cal, you know, then they turned to me. I said, you know what, man, you two, y'all hilarious, right? Oh no, what you mean, brother? You know, you always, you know, they had a whole thing just about, you know, their knowledge. You know, you can't be mad for us kicking in the knowledge and, you know, brother, you know, and do they thing. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna write a children's book, and I'm gonna call it Adventures of Oba and Luther, and I'm gonna put a white guy right in the middle of it, right? Because I know how y'all, you know, got y'all opinions. I said, and then I was start doing the voices, Dave, right? So I was like, hi, I'm Luther, right? And the whole basement just lit up, right? And fell out laughing, right? So, hi, I'm Oba. And, you know, I started talking like him and everything. And so Ray, we call him the wise mole, right? You know, we call him the wise mole. Ray was the wise mole, right? And so I totally built this whole thing out in the basement one day. And about, I say a few days later, I come down the stairs and Ty he said, Cal, make that voice again. That Luther, you a sick man. Make that voice again. I say, hi, I'm Luther. And they just fell out again, right? And so I said, no, for real. Man, don't start that, Cal. I said, yeah, no. We gonna do this book. I'm gonna make this a children's book, right? So I move away from literally Murray Hill, where we was living, and lo and behold, I decide to start writing children's books in this old computer, right? So in this old computer, I done wrote 4, 5 stories to adventures of Oban and Luther. And I'm talking about I got them written, I got the messages, I got what it's talking about, the whole nine. So each story is laced, it's ready to go, it's in this, and I don't know that much about technology. So I don't take and save on a hard drive or flash drive. I don't take nothing off of the computer and save it and protect it. What do? I leave it on the computer. And what happened? For the first time in my adult life, someone breaks into my house and takes that old computer.
Computer.
That's what they take, right? They ransack the house. Nothing is missing but this old computer, right? So we know who it was because the lady come down the street playing they trying to get me game. And then we were leaving and the kids had left the side window open. So my neighbor is not home, right? It's almost dark. So she was able to hit that window and come through. There's nothing in the home. This is where I'm on my way down, Dave. I'm coming off of losing everything. I'm dropping bad, right? And so she gets nothing but this computer. Now, in this computer was my quotes, was my, right, all this other stuff. I had moved everything else but that, right? So now I'm riding around, Dave. I didn't get mad. I didn't turned up, threw the pistol on the car seat. I got the pistol on the car seat, and I'm driving around looking for this woman for that computer. You hear me? And I'm pulling up on everybody. Where's that computer, right? Because this book is in that computer, right? So, I'm mad. I'm riding around. They like, man, the kids like, man, you can't do that. Hey, man, when y'all see I'm looking for this computer. If somebody trying to sell y'all a computer, bring it to me. I'm paying for it. It's black, it's this way, the whole nine. I live at this address, I'm out vigorously looking for this computer. Well, I go to the SWAT shop, what they call them, the pawn shops. I went to the pawn shops, everything, looking for this computer. No sign of this computer, right? So, lo and behold, God begins to whoop me again. So I take this whooping again, right? And I'm going to share this with you because it was funny when I realized I'm out here, pistol on the seat, looking crazy. I was like, you know what? Let me take my butt home, right? So a couple days later, I go home, right? I take I go in the backyard. So in this backyard, it's just a fence. There's nothing. I go in my backyard. I put a chair directly in the middle of the backyard. And as I'm sitting there, I hear clear as day, I gave you everything. I mean, just because it's in a computer don't mean it's not in your head, right? And so I'm sitting there drinking me a glass of wine, looking crazy. And all of a sudden, all the stuff just started coming to me, right? So what I do, I go get me another computer. But this time, I added the security to it, right? And so if somebody broke in and got this one, I got everything on the flash drive. I got flash drives up the wazoo. I got everything. Nah, it's flash drives everywhere. So you do better steal the flash drive than you do if you want some information than this computer. So finally, I put this whole thing together and I start processing, and Oba dies. So my man Oba, he passes away because he had MS. He had what Montel Williams had, right? Has, right? So he had MS, but he ain't had the capability to really take care of himself like that, right? So Oba died. So the day Oba dies, literally, the day of the funeral, my man sends me the book cover. So I go to the funeral. I walk into the funeral. You know, I'm gloating. My face, my smile is as big as the globe of the world, right? My smile is huge. And everybody probably trying to figure out, why is he smiling so hard at this funeral? You know what I mean? Like, I'm smiling hard, right? So I go up and I view the body, and I see my man sitting there, and I take my phone and I show him I show him the book cover. And he just started laughing. And then I go show my man Ty. And then I show Ray, right? And I show him. I said, one thing about Cal, you won't ever be able to say he don't keep his word. Yeah, man. Right? And so I leave, after the funeral, everybody, talking and stuff. Couple of seasons later, we produced the book. The book come out. Right? I cannot be more prouder that God put this in my mouth, right? And one of the things that is what I love about this book is, in this book is not only 10 lessons, but you would have to research some of the things that I say in this book. For example, in the book, we call the wise mole a boo, right? If you look up the definition of a boo, and you're going to have to look it up because I'm not going to tell you what it is. The name is spelled ABU, Abu, right? The other thing is the middle school that's in the book is a combination of my parents' names. That's how I put in here the combination of my parents' name is the middle school. Of the kids in the book, the next session and the next volume, the kids in the book, every time you get this book, you will see the same diversity in this book every time. These kids will be dressed the same way every time. You will always see the diversity in this book. Right? Because it's adventures. And what more do you need on an adventure, Dave? You need friends. What it looks like, yeah, I'm going to take this adventure by myself. No, you need some friends to go on an adventure with you, right? And the wise mole is brilliant. And the wise mole represents a mentor. And both of these children have both of their parents in the home. And they go proper and do the proper thing. And these lessons are very, very valuable in this book. And that is the true story of adventures of Oba and Luther.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. See, this is what we need. We need those positive influences that will be the difference and make a difference. And when you wrote the book, it's ironic that you would bring the book up because I was moving around some files and things like that and ran right into the book today. And then you come talking about it. I was like, well, I guess again, spirits line up. I say, what a great book. I had my folder and everything. And I say, here you go talking about it, talking about volume 2. God is good. God is moving.
Moving.
He's
And
moving.
it ain't for me, right?
Right.
Right. This ain't the real thing is because, as like we called today's thing, reading is life, because March is reading month. And Dave, you and I both read and consume a lot of information in books.
Right.
We do a lot of reading. And earlier today when having that conversation, what about reading? I said 3 books a month. I'm about to wrap up today, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
Early this month, I read I Too Am American by Sean Dove, and I read The War of Art.
Mm-hmm. Art of War?
No. There's a book called The War of Art.
Oh, okay, my apologies. Okay.
No, and that's what, when I first heard it, I was like, okay, that can't be true. And then when I went on Amazon and ordered the book, I'm like, dang, it is The War of Art,
Okay.
right? But what it is that book was such a powerful book because it talks about how you are dealing with your daily distractions and your war within yourself
Mm-hmm.
and the various areas that these wars come from to distract you. It's a very powerful book. I found it very, very powerful. It was a decent read. It wasn't a long read. It was a decent read, and I found it to be very, very powerful because it was another book that told me and whoever the readers are of this book, it told you that your biggest battle is your self-conflict within yourself and the things that you want to achieve. There are things out there that you do that distract you because you've done these things. So, right, where it's what if you chose to do this, or what if you chose to do this or that, versus accepting, these things, and then the distraction. And then they talk about the whole thing about procrastination, right? Right, and they break down the whole process about procrastination, right? And it was such a powerful book. And then I got into the last book, and I'll be finished tonight. But I say that because reading is life, right? And so one of the things going forward as we continue to improve, right? We teaching our boys Arabic, we teaching our boys financial literacy. So we're getting ready to move into the 14 to 18s, right, Dave? And so the 14 to 18s, the Future Leaders Elite, we'll be calling up the young men, bringing them in the process. But in that process, they will have a book club. And you and I both have a number of books, a library that these young men can tap into. One of the things that people miss, and here's a very powerful thing, and then Dave, you chime in. Michael Jordan was hated on. His teammates, his first 7 years, his teammates wanted to fight him. When they did the first Michael Jordan movie, I'm quite sure you probably could find it on YouTube. If not, it was they just destroying it to keep up this false sense of information. But Michael Jordan, teammates hated him. He took all the shots, didn't pass the ball, wasn't a team ball player, right? And everybody, oh yeah, the great Michael Jordan. Yeah, no, who wants to play with a Hulk, right? And so out of the Continental Basketball League comes Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson had been dominating the Continental Basketball League, and he comes into the NBA. He was a former NBA player with the Knicks, and he comes in, and he has Tex Winters with him. Tex Winters is the architect of the 1960-something, I think it's 67, 68, whatever, 65, one of them years. He created the triangle offense, and he was very successful with this offense. So along comes Tex Winters, who was the partner. It was the old man that used to sit to his right behind him in all those games, right? And so what the triangle offense does is the triangle offense enhances your skills. So in other words, Tex Winters found out through tons of fundamentals, we can improve your right side and your left side or your skill. So you wouldn't be a one-handed person. Right? And so this is what the triangle offense is about. So you can set up on this side in the offense, or you can set up on that side of the offense. And everything was set up off of 17 to 19 feet. Read the whole book, the whole nine, right? But Michael Jordan's teams hated him. First thing Phil Jackson said to Michael Jordan is, you got to be a better teammate. If you want to win, you're going to have to pass, and we're going to have to take this ball out of your hand. And we got an idea, and we got a system that we can take this ball out of your hand, and you still can do some of the things that you do. So what they do, they put in the triangle offense, right? So when you saw Michael Jordan setting up on the post, he was setting up on the post of smaller players. That's in the triangle offense. When you saw him get it at the free throw line, he was setting up on the free throw line against smaller players. When you saw him in the corner, this offense strategically moved him, right? This is what the offense does. It strategically move you to be from 17 to 19 feet. And throughout the book is all these drills. But here's the greatest thing Phil Jackson did to all his teams, his championship teams, the whole nine. He had them reading, Dave. That's why they were so successful. See, when you got on the plane with Phil Jackson, everybody on the plane had to have a book. And he had certain books that he wanted them to study, including The Art of War. Right? And in various books. And he made sure all his teams, this is what he did. So even when he left and went to Los Angeles, same thing. He was a big person on reading. And he knew that if you read certain books and certain personal development books and things like that, you would become a better player. That's how he was able to get them focused, get their mind focused, plus that offense. So between the offense and them being able to read, that's why they were so successful. That's how they won championships. The offense in itself is a hard to stop offense. But when you throw in the reading and the books and the character development, that's how they were able to stay focused and win those championships. Reading is life.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. I think you articulated it well. And it's funny because my grandfather was an avid reader right onto his death. The latter book he read was the Bible. But one of the things he taught me as a kid was that I needed to get that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, a bit of discernment, whatever you read.
Yes.
So I began reading heavily probably when I was about 13. And, nothing was off limits to me. And I've been that way. Matter of fact, reading became such an addiction that I would read in traffic, I would read in the grocery line, I would read wherever I go. I got books all in my cars. I got books in storage. And the problem is that when you engage in reading and start expanding your knowledge, you become somewhat of a threat to people who lack knowledge. But it's funny because the Bible says in Hosea, my people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge.
Yes.
You can't gain knowledge if you stay in the same corner. If you never reach out to expand your mind, you can't transform your mind. Then you conform to the conditions that are around you. So reading becomes so significant because this is where God uses, as our brother Mr. E said, where God uses your gifts and ability. And when God said, I can give you the power, the spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. The only way your mind is going to be sound is you got to feed your mind. The best investment one can do is invest in themselves. Reading allows you, and even they made it simple. I mean, if you don't like to read, they got an audio now, so you still can get you a book in. So there's no excuse why you don't get to expand on your thought processes, because that's what reading is about. Each person, like you wrote the book about Oba. So when you look at, you're telling the story of an experience, and that's what reading is. You're engaging in someone's experience of what they experienced. And then it allows you to be able to expand your way of seeing it. You're either going to have the Kodak lens, the Kodak camera, which means your picture going to be limited by the small lens, or you're going to get you a Nike, not a Nike, a Nikon, and you get yourself a broader lens, a high-powered lens. That's what reading does. It gives you a high-powered lens to see the world. You don't see it from that narrow scope anymore. So that's why I think pushing the ideal that people begin to read, and I know they're trying to get rid of books in some form of fashion, but I like the feel of the paper. I like the cover. I like looking at the intro. I like looking at the conclusion, because as you put things together, just like the book you got, the War of Art, where the gentleman started talking about resistance. People resist. People refuse to take the time to engage in what is necessary to expand themselves.
Yep.
Well, he talks about that. I just happened to be on the computer, so I had to go check it out. I couldn't resist. Let me check this book out. Hold on, partner. You can't be one up on me. So I done went through the whole summary just that quick. You can see that's what readers do. They want to know,
Yeah.
and that's what we years ago that the average human being reads 1.5 books a year, and most of that's magazines and tabloids.
Yeah.
So your conversation is going to be limited, and sometimes people don't want to hear what you got to say because they think he a smart aleck or he know everything.
Oh man,
We only know a smidget of information.
a
What
smidget.
we're doing is sharing, and so even on my other show, I always say to people, we are sharing knowledge, wisdom, and understanding so we can grow and be better. This is when we are in placing situations. I remember a teacher, I used to use a lot of profanity when I was about 8 or 9. And I remember the teacher told me, there's another thing that kicked off my reading. She said, anybody that had to use a lot of profanity, not like you don't slip here and there, but if you had to use that as your primary way of dialoguing, then you have a limited vocabulary. Well, how do you expand your vocabulary? You read.
Yep.
And it gives you a whole new way of seeing things. And I don't like to read. Well, you don't want the knowledge. That's all.
Well, I mean, you only can accept because your examples doesn't show you. But what's amazing about what you just said, is factual. That's why we removed the N word, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
once we took the N word out of the program, right, what happens? Right, you can't use that word. Well, we saw it really controlled 350 males, which
Mm-hmm.
told me two things. One, everything that we say about these males is not necessarily true.
That's right.
And two is when you remove certain things, you get more of the other vocabulary. They have to use their mind to speak a different language. And I that's why the words are very, very big, right? Learning words. But I share this with you, David, and I know you know this, but a lot of people don't. When you look up a definition on a word, right? The definition, even if you Google it, they're going to give you 4 or 5
That,
different ways
yep.
to
Yep.
say this word.
That's right.
And if you really want to get into it, right, you can get you an old dictionary where the words in the original context, there are some dictionaries from way back, a 1963 dictionary, where the original word, what it was, the definition of that original word. Because a lot of times what happens is it changes and we change it over the years, which, all of a sudden you got, everybody, we talking ebonics. Well, the acceptance, right, and this is real, we talking ebonics. So let's get to some real information. We created, right, because taking the context, now we've been creating words for centuries.
Right.
Right, so when we get into really the African area, the original people, the African, essentially, like my man signed off in the Olympics a couple years ago. Essentially, we all come through Africa, right? And so, but the words, right, the development of words, learned today, how they put, not Ethiopian, but Ethiopians was one of the Ethiop or something like that was the original term that the Greeks used with the top Greek guy that everybody talk about, the Greek god of whatever his name was, but they called him Ethiopia,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which means black. So the Greeks and everything, everybody was black, right? The original people, right? And so a lot of people, oh no, you changed it, and so I come across this video and the young lady, she was dropping bombs, and she was dropping these truths, right? Because there are some things that's been said, like they said Scipio Africanus conquered Africa. Well, when I went and did the research, I didn't see no such thing. No, they say he was the one that gave Africa the name Africa. Well, when I went to do the research, I seen no such thing. So I want to know where you got that from, right? So now that's why I use Google and Google Scholar, right? I don't just take a little bit, right? We use Google and Google Scholar. A lot of people didn't know they had Google Scholar,
Right, right, right,
A
right.
lot of
Yeah,
people didn't
Google
know that.
Scholar takes, when people tell you, "Oh, I do," I smile because there's others, but I smile when they say, "Oh, I do my research." And then it's, I said, "Where you get it from?" "Oh, I got it from Google." I said, "Oh, okay." So, like you, I said, "Well, maybe you want to go in and do some of the peer reviews and the journals and all these things." And here's another site. What is that? Google Scholar. Well,
Google
now
Scholar.
we take it to the next level where people spend endless amount of time and years, not just writing what they saw in the tabloids or on what is that, whatever that show is, that guy did, but those other little sidebar shows. But they turn around and they have actually done their research. They have went to different places, Oxford, all the different colleges, the high in Harvard, and these people spent years studying this one topic. Now you're taking it to another level. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, because I was in the office one day going crazy. Like, I know, because I couldn't think. You know how you get the brain freeze, and I'm going, what's that other Google site? And everybody like, man, everybody, it's just Google. No, it's another name, right? And so I had to jump in some
Mhm.
old papers. Finally, Google Scholar hit me. Boom, right? And so I had to jump into some old stuff to get back to say, because my mind had froze,
Mhm.
right? And so, but my point is that my point that I want to make clear, from this reading is life and this message, right, Dave? And tell the people where they can meet you at, Dave, and leave them a little information.
Yeah, you could hit me up at on Facebook at fmam.com, or you can hit me up at drome7 at yahoo.com.
Awesome, awesome. Dave is very close to his doctorate, and we praying for him. We excited
Yeah,
with him, right? And he been at it. He's been at it,
8 years, 8 years
and
strong.
but
And,
he's putting a lot of people to shame because his word is his bond, right? Numbers 30 verse 2 says, everything a man that comes out of a man's mouth, a man must do. Dave is true to his word, right? And so I wanted to make sure that we are clear about the hard work that we do. And the fact is that you don't let it stop you from being present with the kids, which I try to explain to these parents and everybody else. Mentoring and being involved in a mentoring program, especially ours, if I'm there, he's there. You don't schedule anything around this kid not being in this program. To me, that's how you teach commitment. Same way I taught my children commitment. If you have a commitment, some things must be sacrificed, right? If you don't understand that, then you don't understand what it takes in life when it's time to make a sacrifice. Therefore, you don't. Shout out to our little monster man, Tyrese. And man,
mhm.
I can't say enough about Tyrese. He put a lot of people to shame, showing up when he has the issues of life in the process. And he showed up. And he showed up the day of, and he showed up again. And he really serious and don't want to miss the pancake breakfast and probably have to miss it. But shout out to my man, right, for being a young, mature young man and understanding the importance of commitment, and his parents teaching him that. So we just reinforce what they have taught him, and just wanted to let it be known that that's very, very powerful for a 10-year-old going on an 11-year-old to be that committed, right? Many other people, they're just not that committed. They don't understand what that takes in being a man, right? But I say all that to get to the point about reading, right? I remember, Dave, my kids, right, and my children, my son, two man, and then my daughter Dominique, and my son Cameron. People used to watch me, teach Cam how to read. They, Cal, I'm coming to get you. No, don't come get me. I'm over
Mhm.
here. I'm spending that time showing my man how to read,
Mhm.
right? Preparing him. Here are the words, right? We start out in the car. Wordplay.
Mhm.
We got words on the refrigerator, words on the furniture, words, we got the refrigerator tagged up everywhere he go. he's learning words, right? Even in the car, we don't curse in the car. We articulate in the car. We don't. So everyone was watching. My daughter, she can read 300 pages probably in a sitting in a day, right? She's very sharp at reading, always have been, and can comprehend, right? And so I share that, and my son, two man reads, articulates. He went on and graduated from college. But I say that in southeastern Michigan, we have a reading problem.
This is unbelievable, man.
And with that reading problem, what is happening is that the number of children don't have the confidence to participate in class. So the only thing that they will do is they will show emotion. And because of that emotion, that lets you know, as Dave was saying, they have a limited vocabulary. And it's the same thing for the adults. And when you start talking to adults and you take the conversation a little too far, what happens is the adult gets upset and now they want to fight or they want to argue. And we saw this at a number of places. But I share this with each and every parent I come in contact with. Just take 1 hour. Take 1 hour out your day and spend that time teaching your kids new words, teaching your kids to read, bringing them personal books, getting them to comprehend. Because when you get out into this world, we're a highly technological world now. And a lot of it is going to cause you to read. It's going to ask you for instructions. It's got a lot of that and a lot of places you need to go. And so this is why I say reading is life. Because without reading, you can't really go nowhere at all. And therefore, you dependent on everybody to do something for you. And that's not how I was raised. My name is Calvin Mann. Calvin T. Mann, President. This has been METV. Remember, always put your family first. Peace.
I remember them family barbecues, cruising around Bella Park, tasting my favorite Patricia and Clark. She used to see me and my cousins together, and tell us we ain't cousins, we really brother. It's a blessing. Now that we grown, we tougher than leather. Even if it go from bad to worse, we still where we hurt. Make sure my baby girl tight, and make sure that I fed my first, family first. Let's start the game over, back to the way things were. It's all about the kids, so put your family first. Let's start the game over, back to the way things were. It's all about the kids, so put your family first. Take it back, start the game over, it's in me. Kids give me motivation, so I'm rocking my head. Listen, don't have a wish, let them know it's more to life than block living. Focus on yourself and stop all that hate. I know you want that money, but you